I just turned it off. I don't think it looks any different, does it?
No, not really. Your lighting is kind of confusing for a low quality lens, but it's mostly about the audio, anyways.
Oh, okay. Do you think it's my lighting that's making me look fuzzy?
There's a lot of different light coming from different directions, and then also you
Yes,
might
there
have some sort of
is.
blur effect, and then also it's going to be scrunched down because of the algorithm, scrunching your video feed through the pipes in Mexico into the pipes in America. So
God, how am I ever going to figure out what's wrong with it then?
it's not that bad.
No, it's not that bad. It just annoys me because I look at other people's video and I'm like, their video looks clearer than mine, and I just
Hmm.
want it to look the same as everybody else's. But
Hmm. Yeah.
and anyway, not your
Keeping up with the
problem.
Joneses. No.
Ugh,
I
I
wish it was,
hate
but
keeping
it's
up
not.
with the
No,
Joneses.
you run away. You fled from the Joneses a long time ago.
That's true. I guess I didn't even try. I did the opposite of try to keep up with the Joneses. I don't want what the Joneses have. I'm leaving.
Yeah.
Are we recording?
Oh, I'm always recording, but I don't know when to cut in.
Okay. Well, whenever you want to.
Uh, what does your mug say?
It says Team Turf.
Team Turf. Okay.
Is it backwards on yours?
No, no, it's straightforward.
It's backwards on mine. And
It blurred a little bit and looked like trans turf, and I'm like, wow, there's a market
like,
for
what
that.
is that?
No, I've met them. I've met them.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I have too, that Corinna, etc.
Can you be a female? I mean, a feminist if you trans yourself, like as far as one can be transed.
I mean, whatever.
Okay,
I
well,
don't really care
can you
about
be a male
those.
feminist?
I don't, sure. I don't know. I've rejected, I know my positions on all this have changed so much
Yeah, but you
since
have the
when we
mug,
first
so
started talking.
you still want to carry along with the
I
branding.
guess I mean, the reason that I'm like, a male feminist is like so annoying to me. Like, all that, if a man told me he was a feminist, all that would signal to me is that I don't like him. Be like, cool, I don't want to talk to you anymore. So
Hmm.
sure, okay, you can go around calling yourself a feminist if you feel like it. I don't even know what that means
Hmm.
anymore. I guess, I try to just say that I'm fighting for women's
Like
rights.
Charlotte social climber.
It would be like a libtard. I've met a couple of them in Mexico recently, libtarded men, just touristas, not the locals.
Hmm.
Oh no, there was a local. They all love abortion. This is their entire argument. Like, because I've been going around telling people that I am like at the bar, and I'm like, if they're like, I'm from New York, and I was like, oh, I voted for Trump. Just to like, I don't know, like
Okay.
needle them a little bit. And then they start getting really, really upset about abortion. It's always about abortion. Like, they're
Really?
like, but what about abortion? And I'm like, well, I like abortion as much as the next gal, but that's not going to determine my vote when there's all these other things that are at stake.
Like what other things other than abortion?
That are at stake? Well, first of all, I don't think that abortion was at stake, so that wasn't an issue for
Yeah.
me at all. It
Yeah.
wasn't a consideration because they're not getting rid of an abortion. Trump has no desire, as far as I can tell, to get rid of abortion, ban abortion, whatever. And the Democrats have no real desire to protect abortion. They like to use it as an election issue. So it would
Yeah.
never determine my vote one way or another.
Have you stumbled upon any fanfic of Meghan Murphy and Gilead?
No.
Like wearing the Handmaid's Tale outfit?
Have you?
Have you been accused of that? I know you've been accused of being a ball palmer, but not a handmaiden to the patriarchy.
I don't, I don't know if I've been literally called a maiden, a
Hand
handmaiden.
Megan.
Somebody should have used that by now. But I think what I often see from, the radical feminists or the leftist feminists, the GCs, as I think they
Mm-hmm.
would call themselves. I see when I see them or people send to me screenshots of them trashing me online, like I kind of forget that they exist otherwise. But every once in a while I'll see something or somebody will send me something. And it's usually that they're saying that I sold out for money. Like they are like, somebody must be paying her to say all these things. And like,
Okay.
I'm
Yeah.
just like, I'm poorer than I was when I was doing really hardcore feminism as a like leftist because,
Hmm.
you know,
Well,
I
whores can be poor too.
true, but like yeah, I just think it's funny that I mean it's they pretend I don't even know if it's a legitimate position, but they it's either that they can't consider that somebody would change their mind or think differently than they do through rational thought and
Hmm.
have a legitimate change
Yeah.
of heart about the thing that they're so addicted to and obsessed to. They're like their addictive
Hmm.
obsession with being a leftist and identifying with their tribe, right? So
Hmm.
they just
Hmm.
can't imagine what would sway someone in the other direction, which to me tells me that they're not very thoughtful people. I don't think that you're really questioning much if you've just held the exact same beliefs for the past 20 years and you can't imagine that there's a possibility that you might come across new information or
Hmm.
a new viewpoint and then change their mind. But so that their only response is that I must be getting paid to say these things, that
Hmm.
it's that right wing men are paying me to say these things. And like, first of all, it's like, I don't know. I mean, it makes me mad a little bit because I don't, I struggle to make a living as an independent and I have a lot of integrity around that. Like it's easy to
Hmm.
I think I would be making a lot more money if I were willing to sell out or
I'm
to
waiting for
say
those teal and
things.
Russian checks myself, but they just don't come.
I
They're
know.
just
I
not
like
showing
if
up.
no none of the Russians have offered me any money. Peter Thiel has not offered me any money. No right-wing man has offered me any money. The
Oh,
Daily
come on.
Wire
You're
has
not
not
you're
yet
not dating
offered
the
me
right
a
circles
job.
then. Come on.
I don't want to date those. I'm
Okay.
so bad. I'm so bad at schmoozing. Like
Yeah.
I don't want to hang around with people I don't want to hang around. I mean, that's why I moved to
Yeah.
Mexico, right? I'm like, I just
Yeah.
want to hang around with my friends. Like, I don't want my life to be work. I want my work to be my work. And I want to
Hmm.
feel good about what I'm doing. And I want
Oh,
to feel what
so what are you doing, Megan Murphy?
the same thing that I've always done, tweeting.
Which is what? Okay. Okay. Do they call it tweeting anymore?
I think Elon is trying to get us to start calling it something else, but I don't know if it's sticking. I've not managed to switch over
Posting.
from tweeting.
Posting.
Posting
Yeah.
on X. I
Yeah.
think you're just supposed to say I'm posting on X,
I'm
I
posting.
guess.
I'm posting.
Um, but no, I'm writing and doing my podcast. So I, make a living off of the same thing I always have, really, which
Well,
is
yeah, okay, yeah. So
subscribers.
that's what you're
Subscribers.
doing. But what's the content? Like, what are you
Oh, I
focusing on? What
see.
have you been focusing on? What are you exploring? Critiquing?
I think it's just, I mean, whatever I'm interested in, really. It's mostly cultural and political stuff, and it's trying to find the truth of what's going on in the world and why. It is really mostly just if there's a topic that I'm interested in, or a person that I'm interested in, or a book that I'm interested in, then that's who I'll have on the podcast. If I'm trying to figure something out, then I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
try to talk to people who I think might
Yeah.
have maybe some insight that I don't have or a better understanding of that issue. I mean, that's the great gift, as I'm sure you know, of podcasting, right? Is that you get to source.
I'm sorry, your connection was weak. Did you say
Oh,
gift or grift?
gift. Whoops. I gave myself away. I said gift. Yeah, the gift of podcasting is that you
Yeah,
get
freewheeling.
to I mean, that's how I ended up changing my mind about all sorts of things in large part, I think, is just because I talk to so many different people and it forced me to consider different viewpoints about whatever. Early on, I
Mm.
remember talking to, um, Toby Young and like probably Brandon O'Neill and like early on during the COVID thing. Um, and
Hmm.
a few other people who, you know, helped me understand that the lockdowns were doing more harm than they were good, for example.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, and I started talking to men who were critical of feminism, just, mostly just to be like, what am I missing here? I had been talking to people who agreed with me for a really long time.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I was like, okay, I
Yeah.
need to figure out what else is out
Yeah.
there. And,
Well,
maybe and some things I thought they were wrong about, and then some things maybe they're right about, and then
yeah.
there's some things in between. And and I wanted to talk to people who were critical of communism and socialism and
Hmm.
whatever, just all these things that I hadn't really questioned before. And I did change my
You
mind
know,
about a lot and didn't change my mind about some other stuff.
we talk about the echo chamber as a net negative, and it's something to be aware of, but it's not necessarily a bad thing until it grows stuffy. Because you have people that you're speaking to, and you can get some nice resonances going on, and you can drill into certain melodies and harmonies just to follow with the metaphor. But breaking out of that means that you're no longer part of a tribe, part of a group. You don't have an audience. You're not dedicated to people, and people aren't dedicated to you anymore. You're kind of like a freewheeling provocateur, is when Journo called me, which I kind of like. But don't you feel like kind of adrift, like Odysseus, like some sort of podcasting Odysseus, just kind of like wheeling about the Grecian islands of topics? Do you have anything that you feel like you're getting to or going toward?
Um, I don't I don't know. I think I mean, I guess I'm always trying to figure out I was for a long time really trying to better understand what was happening with the transgenderism issue because I could point to what was wrong with the views very easily. Obviously, men aren't women. I can talk about how this impacts women's rights negatively very easily. But
Yeah.
the why of it was harder for me to figure out because it couldn't be so simple as it's just an attack on women's rights. Um, it manifested as an attack on women's rights, but I don't know that that was the entire
Mm.
goal. So that I was trying to explore for a long time, and think
Did
I
you get to the
managed.
bottom of Yaniv?
Yaniv? I mean, Yaniv's a crazy person.
Yeah.
It's
So
not very
he's a symptom. He's
complicated.
he's not
He's a
he's
psycho.
definitely not the cause. He took up this thing in
No,
order
that
to
was just
exploit
an
it. Yeah.
opportunity. Like, I don't
Yeah.
think he thinks he's a woman or transgender. I think he's a crazy person and is obviously violent and dangerous, but it's not something that he's thinking through very rationally. He saw
Yeah.
an opportunity to grift as he had been, doing prior in various different ways. He just
Okay,
wanted
but
free
why would
stuff
he
or
pick
like a
up on
payout.
transgenderism?
Because
To
I mean, he was kind of already doing that via like he would order a pizza and then say, "Oh, my pizza arrived and all the toppings had fallen off. I want some free pizzas." Like he was doing that kind of thing already in a
okay.
variety of places around Vancouver. So he
Yeah.
was like, "Oh, I'm going to ask these women to give me a Brazilian bikini wax, and then when they say no, I'm going to accuse them of discrimination, of transphobia, and then try to get them to pay me off so that I don't sue them." And the
Mm.
ones who didn't fall for that, I think some of them did do that. He took to court, I think, yeah, obviously hoping that he would get a payout. That's all that was. Um,
Okay,
there
so
are,
let's drill into that just for a moment. Just because somebody is exploiting consumer protection laws about like trying to rip off a pizza place and taking them to court or writing bad Yelp. He has like, when I first stumbled upon him and started researching him, he had done like 200 or so like negative reviews of Subway, like around, he would just go to Subways and give them negative reviews. But so he's exploiting some sort of consumer protection
Yeah.
clause or legalistic infrastructure. We don't want to dismantle this infrastructure of, you know, consumer protections any more than we want to dismantle, or maybe we do, the infrastructure, the legal infrastructure of human rights, whatever that means, and then specifically gender-based rights or sex-based rights, just because some people are exploiting them. So what is it about transgenderism and your explorations of that topic that lend itself to being a different sort of right? You said it's easy
Well,
for you to
he's not the
disprove it.
crux of the matter. I mean,
He's
Jonathan
not the crux
Yaniv
of the
is
matter.
irrelevant. The only
Yeah,
thing
but
that's relevant
okay.
about Yaniv is that he was able to use this in some ways to benefit him, I guess, in order to get attention. He didn't
But
end up
not
winning
everybody
his
that's using
case.
transgenderism is doing that. And just pointing out that that crazy people are
No, so
using
there's more
transgenderism to,
nefarious characters in here, and a lot of them are predatorial. I think he was predatorial, but I don't think that was his primary
yeah, okay.
motive.
Yeah, but I'm just saying he's just a very comic example of the predator. If you take out the predators behind what's fueling transgenderism, what do you find? Is there more to it than just an exploit of
Most
something?
of it is autogynephilia. Most of it is men who develop fetishes. You know all about this. Men who, had maybe a cross-dressing fetish and that became an obsession via, porn use, via these internet forums where they just got into this, wormhole around transgenderism and got more and more and more into their fetish to the point where it
Hmm.
became an obsession and they wanted it to be their lives. I think a lot of them are probably narcissistic based on the so-called trans women that I've encountered in my years and years and years of study of this issue, I
No,
suppose, and
yeah, yeah, direct. Yeah.
in talking to the women who were married to or in relationships with men who decided they were going to become women or began
Yeah.
identifying as women. They all seem very, very self-absorbed and very kind of childish um, about this, the attention seeking and the
But
validation attached to transgenderism. So there's that
those
aspect.
types of men have existed perennially. One of my a tweet that I retweet every once in a while or reformulate every once in a while is that like the boomers, when they had a midlife crisis, they divorced their wives, they bought a sports car, and then they hooked up with a college girl. Now Gen Xers, or the generation following the boomers, treat their body like a sports car, try to turn it into a college girl, and then demand that their wife agree with them and support them on that journey. There's always been very selfish, narcissistic men. What is it about transgenderism and our moment and our culture? Like, what does
It's that
transgenderism tell
everybody went
us?
along with it. It's that everybody decided it was the cause du jour. And part of that
Hmm.
happened because of funding, because all of a sudden, there was a lot of funding that was being pumped into, trans studies programs in universities via like the Pritzker family. That's a real thing, right?
Yeah.
Jennifer Pritzker funded the trans chair at UVic, they created all these trans programs. They funded these programs. I think that, you know, the what used to be the gay rights organizations and charities, all of a sudden didn't really have a cause because gay rights had been won. And so a new way to keep their organization and their jobs alive was via trans activism and this idea of trans rights. Um, and everybody needed then to go along with transgenderism in order
Wait,
to keep their funding.
that's the question. Why does anybody need to go? We're both tired of this issue. I'm sorry. I'm tired of this issue. You've thoroughly explored this issue, but what does this issue tell us about this cultural moment, about our culture? Why do we go along with this? What is it about
Because
it? And
most
is it
people are
just funding?
cowardly. Most people are
It's
cowardly and
cowardice.
stupid. Sorry to be rude, but a lot of
Okay.
people are liars. People are don't want to think too hard about a thing that might make them uncomfortable or that might cause them to, not no longer be perceived as or no longer be able to perceive themselves as the good guy. People are
Mm.
very attached. The reason people are so high and mighty about voting Democrat and refusing to vote for Trump is because it allows them to think of themselves as good people and the rest of us as bad people. They go around acting as though we're all a bunch of dumb racists and we
Phobes.
don't
Yeah.
care about the marginalized and so on and so forth, and they do because they're so good. They love that. They're extremely attached to that view of themselves and are very unwilling to let go of that. Some of us who have integrity have let go of that and are like, okay, fine, you can think I'm not a good person. This
Hmm.
makes more sense to me. This is the more ethical thing to do. Um,
Hmm.
and
Well,
so I'm going to do it anyway,
yeah.
regardless of the names you call me. But these people
Yeah.
want to, yeah, they want everyone to know that they're the good guy, and they want to
Yeah.
be able to keep considering themselves the good guy. So that's why they say trans women are women. Um, and
So
even
there's,
a lot of them, when they do start figuring out, oh, maybe this is not so good, maybe this is dangerous, they still don't want to lose their friends. They don't want to get criticized. They just don't want to be in an awkward position, and it's easier for them.
yeah.
Most people are lazy and cowardly and don't want to think too hard about things. That's the
Yeah.
reality of it.
Well, if that's the reality of it, then. So Elon Musk bought Twitter a couple years ago, I think. I think he was very instrumental in getting Trump elected. Maybe, maybe
Totally.
not. Who knows?
I
But
think so.
yeah. And it seems like he's pivoted, not necessarily changed the course of history, but pivoted the zeitgeist in a certain way. And since the election of Donald Trump, and I'll put the brief conversation we had just prior to the election at the beginning of this episode so people can see the difference here. Since Trump's reelection, and he's not in office yet, it just seems like the right, the not left won. But what is the not left? It seems like there's no, to bring it back to what you were saying. Most people want to follow a path to status and to comfort. They want status and they want comfort. Is there and the Democrats and whatever that is, the left built a number of different status ladders and status comforts into this ideology, and it grew sedate and it started to become perverse in a number of different ways, and it's failing. The work, from my point of view, is that we need to build new status ladders. We need to build more creature comforts. And that is the open question. And that's a very worrisome question for conservatives, for people who are not left. Like, what is it going forward? We both just lived through 10 years, 8 years of really wild stuff. The
Hmm.
COVID stuff you bring up. There's something funny about the 2020 election. I don't know. It just felt really
Hmm.
funny to me. The
Hmm.
way that Trump's what happened to the mainstream media when Trump got elected was just bizarre,
Hmm.
verging on like actually murderously dangerous for our
Hmm.
country,
Hmm.
and very propagandistic. But that stuff seems to be going by the wayside. But what does the future hold? Like, is it instability? Is there a direction forward? What do we
I
do with
mean,
the
I'm not,
status seekers? And what do we do with the people who just want to live their lives in comfort?
most people just want to live their lives. I mean, it was more the status seekers are a problem. The virtue signalers were always a problem.
Hmm.
And that's because they would say things that weren't true publicly and attack people who wouldn't go along with those things because they wanted to achieve that particular kind of status. Some of that stuff was about money, like Cenk and Anna Kasparian made a lot of money on their stupid leftist show where
Have
they
you been on their
pretended
stupid
to
leftist
be,
show?
no, hysterical. Have you?
No, no.
Where they pretended to be like enraged about all these issues that I don't believe they were enraged about. I think that they're very
Mm,
good actors, and I think that now they're seeing the tides are turning and they're jumping ship because they're like, oh, yikes. Like
yeah.
this is woke, the woke thing isn't cool anymore. The money's going over here. I'm out. People aren't interested in this anymore. So I'm all of a sudden critical of the Democrats too. And maybe men shouldn't be in women's sports. Don't call me a menstruator. Like phonies, 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 grifters, grifters, grifters. So there's a lot of people, who said a lot of things they didn't believe because of their paycheck. Probably lots of people on CNN and MSNBC as well, and
Yeah, I
maybe
mean,
some of
MSNBC is about to be sold if that
yeah
story's got water, right? Like
to
they're losing a
Elon
lot of
Musk.
credibility. Yeah. I don't
Maybe.
know. Maybe.
Wouldn't that be hilarious?
I don't know. Have you gone over to that Blue Sky app, which is where all the
No,
leftists are fleeing? It's
I don't have any
really
interest.
it's really cringe. You go over there, it's really cringe, and then I go back to Twitter/X. I don't like calling it that, and I'm like, wait, this is kind of like an echo chamber. We're starting to create different echo chambers again, and it's just not. It's not interesting without them around, and they can go somewhere else, and they know they've lost, so they can't be absolutely crazy insane people anymore. So I'm like, what do we do without that guiding light of absolute
Right.
insanity?
Well, I don't think the blue sky will last, so I sort of think they'll be back.
Time will tell. Maybe they'll come back, but
I mean,
I'm
but
just saying
I see what
without
you're saying. Like
opposition, right?
I would not enjoy X if there weren't a bunch of people who disagreed with me. I
Yeah.
certainly
Okay.
don't. I don't want to be in an echo chamber. I want,
Yeah.
and I didn't. People were complaining about that happening on Twitter, but I wasn't having that experience at all because I was still seeing tons of people saying that it would be, the end of the world if Trump won the election, and getting
This time
lots of
around?
engagement. Yeah, that was still in my algorithm on Twitter. Was it not in
Yeah.
yours? Yeah,
No, okay, yeah,
I
yeah.
would see lots of libs who were saying
It's
that,
kind of their fault for being we deserve a better class of enemy, of political enemy, because they've
yeah,
been rehashing the
there's
same talking points.
for so long. It's so dull. And it's not, yeah, you're right. It's not, you're like, oh, this again. Like we've been doing this since 2016. Like find a new
Yeah.
argument.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, yeah,
What's
blue
worth
sky I have no
disagreeing
interest
about?
in.
What's worth disagreeing about?
Oh, everything. I could disagree about so many things.
Okay, what's your take on the wife Jack meme?
On the what?
Wife Jack meme. I guess that's
I
not a
don't know
part
what
of your
this
feed.
is.
Oh, you don't know the wife Jack meme?
No, I guess we're not in an echo chamber after all. I have a different feed
Okay,
than
well there we
you.
go. That's nice.
Wife
Okay, so
Jack mean?
you've never been
Let me look
married.
this up. Right. Yeah, I have a lot of opinions about that
About
still.
not being married?
Well, and about
Still?
marriage being the best and having babies being the best and so on and so forth. But
But you
let me
haven't had
Google
babies
this.
or that's
No,
the
because
problem with this experiment.
I don't want babies.
So you
But
don't know what's the best because either you have that or
I'm
you
not
don't.
saying my thing is the best, but I
Oh,
think
okay.
my issue is with the mostly men who think that women are who don't have kids and get married are like lonely, bitter, sad people, and I'm like, I'm
Hmm.
happier than most of you. Like most of the people that I know who got married and had kids are miserable and hate each other, so and are stressed out and look old and don't get enough sleep.
Hmm.
Not all of them. Some of them are doing good, but lots and lots of them are in really
Hmm.
dull, unhappy relationships
Yeah.
and sort of stuck in unhappy
Are you okay
lives.
with being marginalized as a marginalized unmarried unchilded woman?
Marginalized in what way?
People say that your life isn't the best life and that being married is the best.
Well, I think that that's a cope. So, no, I'm not okay with that because I think that they're lying to themselves to
Hmm.
try to simplify the world in ways that the world
Yeah.
isn't as simple as people want it to be, of course. Like, I
Marriage is
would,
not as simple as people want it to be. I'll tell you that much.
yeah, yeah, I bet. I mean, I don't think I think people should get married and have babies. I'm not anti getting married and anti having babies at all. I think
Yeah.
that's a really important thing for our society. But for me, I don't like that. I don't want to do it. And I don't think I would be happy in a marriage. If I had a baby, I'm sure I'd be happy. It would just be a different life. But it's not what I want to do. It's not, I don't really
Hmm.
like babies. It's
Hmm.
not how I want my life to be. If I did have it, I'm sure I wouldn't be like, gosh, I regret this human. Like how I don't think I think I would, love it and be happy in a different way than I am now, maybe.
Hmm.
But
Do you
I
miss it at
don't
all?
know. I
No.
really I'm not interested in babies. I
No.
want my niece to come live with me in Mexico. She's like 14. Like I want like a 14-year-old girl. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like
Somebody to mold. Yeah.
I like,
But not nurse.
once
Yeah.
they turn 12, then cool.
Yeah.
But I didn't don't like I'm not interested in babies. I've never been interested in babies. And I
Yeah.
think
So
I
you're one of
don't
those cat women that
but I
dastardly bastard JD Vance
yeah.
decried in a
I mean that
podcast.
didn't make me upset at all. I don't like cats. I have two chihuahuas though. So I'm becoming a sort of weirdo in a way. I'm sure it'll
Yeah, you
get
got two
worse as
now.
I get old. Yeah, now and once you get more than one, you start to become a bit weird. So I'll try to limit myself, but it's hard.
Yeah.
Um, I yeah, I already like moved away to Mexico to live a weird life with my weird chihuahuas, and I'm sure it'll get weirder from here on out. Um, that didn't insult me, what JD Vance said. Um, but I do think that I don't know. I really like JD Vance, and I don't feel that JD Vance has any disrespect for me or my life. That wasn't how I felt about
Mm,
what he said. I think
mm.
people latched onto that so that they could pretend to be really angry about something and turn it
Oh, yeah.
into something that it wasn't. But, what does make me angry is when people try to tell me, that my life is actually unhappy and unfulfilling. And, all women who don't have babies and get married are destined to be miserable and alone and
Mm.
can't see that there's some projection in that often. And it's like, often the projection, I think, is that maybe they're sort of miserable and not all that happy, and they have to comfort themselves by saying, actually, no, I did do the right thing, and they're all doing the wrong thing, and
Mm.
they're gonna like, I'll show you. I
Mm.
don't think I'm not going around telling people that they shouldn't get married and have babies. They're
Yeah,
doing
for
that
sure.
to me. And
Well,
I think people just have to understand that some people like different things. Like a lot of people really like being in codependent relationships. I don't. A lot of people seem
you,
to really enjoy that, being in
yeah.
codependent relationships and being,
As opposed to what kind of relationship? I don't know of a relationship that's not codependent.
well, I don't really like being in relationships all that much, I don't think. I think that's
Mm.
sort of what I've started to discover. I don't
Mm.
know how I'm going to manage that. But like, I've been in a lot of relationships in my life. So I think I've had about, you know, s- I think I've had like 7 or 8 serious boyfriends, like long-term boyfriends since I was, 19 or something like that. All so, between 1 and 3 years long, like mostly 2 or 3 years long. And then there's another one, and there's another one. And it's like,
Mm.
I always sort of like it for a year, and then it's not good for a number of reasons. But part of it is that I just don't really want to be around somebody that much. Part of it is sometimes that they're abusive or toxic, or there's an
Yeah.
addiction issue, or the
Yeah.
person is just
It's a very
intellectually
easily, yeah,
lacking.
it's an easy thing to say. This is bad or this is wrong. And then sometimes
Hmm.
it's like it's a lot of work to sacrifice, or what is it?
It's more that I usually feel oppressed, to use an overused term, in relationships. Like I start to feel like I can't really fully be me. I can't really be myself. And I
Mm.
want to have full autonomy. I want to be able to do what I want to do. I don't like living with somebody else. Like I don't like there being somebody in my house when I wake up. Like I want to wake up and have my coffee and do my work and do my thing and have my routine and go to the like I don't really want to wake up and have an argument with somebody. If I'm at home and I'm like I'm ha you know, or anywhere. If I'm out with my friends and I'm have to like deal with somebody else's trying to goad me into an argument or somebody else's mood or whatever. I'm like, fuck
Yeah.
off. I'm trying to have fun. Like I just want to
Yeah.
I'm happy. Like, when I don't have a boyfriend around, I'm good. I'm like I like my life. I like my friends, I go to the gym, I do my thing, and
Well,
I don't feel
what
like that
what
happy
attracts
when
you
I'm
back
in a
to?
relationship.
And I appreciate this conversation. I think it's edifying in a number of different ways. What, from your point of view, what is it that it's easy to say why it's not worth the bother to be in a long-term relationship after a while something the luster wears off and then like the annoyances keep on getting bigger, so it's not worth it. But then you find yourself alone and then you're like, oh, I kind of want another one of those things. So what's that, like that, like it's easy to jump ship, but what is it in you, or what is it about like the relationship that wants you to climb back into another one for a while?
It's not intentional, so that's part of my
Oh,
problem.
it's your
Is that
programming.
I don't break up and then think I want to find another boyfriend. It just sort of happens naturally, and I think now what
Mm.
I'm trying to do is make that not happen.
Oh.
Like I'm not saying no, never. That's not what I mean, but I don't want to fall into it's what happens is I break up with somebody and then I happen to meet somebody else that I like out through friends of friends or wherever it is, and then we make out and then we start sleeping together and then I have a new boyfriend. It's not like, oh, I'm gonna start dating and find a relationship, or I'm gonna
Oh,
go
okay.
out looking for somebody. I've never really done that. It's all happened
Hmm.
kind of organically, but I think that's the mistake is that I go into relationships, sort of lust first, and then you end up in a relationship with somebody who's, again, abusive, addicted, or just not intellectually compatible, or, whatever it
Hmm.
is. It's not the right fit, or, my last relationship was he was abusive, he was like a narcissist and did some pretty like monstrous things and I had to
Hmm.
strategically leave and it was hard and he
Hmm.
wouldn't let it go and he kept showing up and wouldn't leave me alone, was like
Hmm.
stalking me essentially. And I was like, this is not, and this is, I can't just fall into relationships with somebody and I can't just start sleeping with somebody because I'm attracted to them, because they
Yeah.
might turn out to be a dangerous. He seemed fine and great. I thought I was making a practical choice, to be honest. Like there were red flags, but I also thought,
Hmm.
I obviously didn't think he was dangerous when I met him.
Yeah.
Um,
Are you is there like some sort of party girl cloister that you're gonna found?
what does that mean? What do you mean?
Cloister it's an old word for these women called nuns. They would go live away.
Oh, I see. Yeah, I mean, I think it would be nice to sort of have I don't want to only be around women when I'm older because I really like men too. And I'm sure inevitably I'm gonna meet another man that I like and have another
Yeah.
relationship. And I just hopefully I'll make a more practical choice this time around. I'm not able
Hmm.
to really avoid those things. I'm too like out in the world and
Yeah. Well,
hard.
it's fun.
Yeah,
If you're having
I
fun, it's
like
gonna happen.
flirting and I like
Yeah.
making out. Like it's fun. Like I like
Yeah.
to go out and meet somebody and then make out at the bar. That's fun. So,
Yeah.
right? And it's
Hmm.
exciting to meet somebody that you like, even if it doesn't go anywhere. It's fun to have those
Hmm.
feelings. Like I think that's just part of being human, right?
Yeah.
We're not robots. But
Would you rather your niece live your life or your sister's life?
Oh, mine, for sure.
Yeah.
My sister's life is so rigid and dull and unadventurous. I like my sister, but her life is
Not for you.
not, there's no adventure and there's no, meeting new people and doing exciting things and
Hmm.
learning and really getting a lot out of life.
But what does she have that you don't? I mean, like Steel
A
Manning,
house.
a house. Yeah.
Yeah, like a big house, money, I guess, financial security.
Yeah.
But I mean, if I had to choose happiness and fulfillment and adventure and joy
Hmm.
and chihuahuas,
Really?
I
Chihuahuas.
would choose that. I mean, I love living in Mexico. Like kill me if I had to go live in Canada again.
Well, yeah. No, you're fine.
Like
They'll kill
I
you
do
if you do
not
go
want
there.
that life. I do not want. I mean, then that's the trap of money and financial security. Like it's not, and I'm not certainly not against money and financial security. I definitely wish I had more of that. That's probably the only thing that stresses me out in my life. But I don't, living in, but if you, then you got this big house and you got this big property and you got your cars and you got all your stuff and you're living in Canada and you're not really happy and you don't even remember what it feels like to be happy because you've just been doing your thing and doing life for years and years and years. And it's like, this is just what life is. And it's like, it's not. There's so much more to life. Like people, I think a lot of people that I used to hang around with in Vancouver. Some of them I still do. I still have friends in Vancouver. I just don't really go back there that much. I don't like going back there, but I wish, I would like to see them more. I wish everybody would just come here, I guess. But I think a lot of people in Vancouver, I think just seem really kind of low-key depressed, but they don't realize it because it's been their life for so long and they don't realize that there's something different and there's something, it's not just I think a lot of people will try to be like, oh, she just moved to Mexico to party. And it's like, yeah, I like to party. I like to go out with my friends, but it's not about partying. You could party anywhere, you know, but it's about living in a small community and people being really kind of close and being exposed to so many different kinds of people and your friend I have friends who are 23 years old. I have friends who are my age also, but I have good friends who are in their 20s, which I didn't have in Vancouver. And you have friends from all over the world, and they're people that you would have never probably encountered in your life in Vancouver. And I just think that's great. Like, I think it's great to be exposed to different people and to realize that you can have relationships with all sorts of different kinds of people.
Yeah.
And there's a lot to learn from a lot of different people. And there's a lot
Yeah.
to learn from having to get along with a lot of different kinds of people in a small community where if you don't like somebody or if something weird happens or you have a fight with somebody, you can't really just avoid them. You can't really just erase them.
Do lynchings still happen for egregious crimes?
No. But you'll get kicked out of town. Like people get
Okay.
kicked out of town. Like if, there's been men who were abusive and made to leave town or, assaulted a woman and made to leave town. It doesn't
Made to
mean,
leave town.
yeah.
Is that a euphemism for being 6 feet under just outside of town?
No.
Oh.
But I
So
mean,
this
that's
isn't
the
the real
threat.
Wild West.
That's the
But
threat.
yeah, but that's okay. So that's
Well,
still a
it's like you
possible. Yeah.
leave town or we're going to kick the shit out of you and
Yeah.
leave you on the highway.
Yeah.
So, you know,
So I want to bring it back to like your waveform, the Meghan Murphy vibe.
okay.
Like being I wouldn't call you a party girl, but you have like you're 40-50% party girl, but you also have like this intellectual capacity, and that's where your work comes from. You're writing, you're thinking through things. podcasting can be like a dating circuit, like one of those cheesy, like 5 minute, like here, flirt for 5 minutes and like go to the next flirt for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Where do you find community? If not build some sort of house or a body of work that stands for something, or that states something, like in just talking to a bunch of people. Is there a greater kind of thing that you're either building, which is kind of more masculine thing, or community that you're weaving, which is more feminine kind of metaphor for it?
I mean, I'm seeking better understanding and truth and trying to encourage people to also seek these things and to be brave in their thinking and to question their assumptions and to question their worldviews. I don't know if
Hmm.
that's what you're asking or getting at. I don't know if
Well,
you're asking why I
those
do the
are no,
podcast.
no, not why you do the podcast. And those are like general positive things, like the mode of your podcast. But what is it that you are wanting to really get to the bottom of? Like, or what is it, something that you got to the bottom of? And what's the bottom of something, if that's what you're doing? Or what kind of relationships or kind of relationship that you're growing into? Like, what is your development as an artist? And by artist, I just mean a crafter,
I
content
think
creator, influencer.
it's authenticity and integrity. It's
Hmm.
about trying to see people as human and not as identities and not as
Hmm.
political categories. And,
Hmm.
I've just been, as you I'm sure have, and have all of these people who are in the heterodox community, if you want to call that, just
Are we
been
still calling it that? I haven't
I
heard
don't
that
know
one
what
in a
else to
while.
call it. I know I don't like it. It's not my ideal because I don't
Well,
even
better
like
than
calling it a
homodox. I mean,
community. But, like I
yeah,
still think of what I'm doing as I'm heterodox thinking is sort of what I'm trying to
yeah,
do, I think.
yeah,
And, so that's about, we've all
hmm,
been so frustrated by observing all these lies
yeah,
for all of these years and watching the media lie and distort stories and distort the news and distort journalism to
yeah,
suit ideological aims. It's enraging. And to watch all our friends lie and to watch, yeah, people go out in public and say things that are lies that are hurtful and harmful and damaging to individuals or to the culture. So I think that's what I was trying to disrupt
hmm,
for a long time. I think I'm still trying to disrupt this, but I'm also, I'm trying to, yeah, I'm trying to, I'm always trying to understand and learn. And, it sounds simple and silly, I suppose, but
no, I don't think it's
want to
silly.
learn things. And,
I think simplicity
I
is
talk
beautiful.
to people who know more about a thing or
Yeah,
something than I do. That's the whole point, like I'm
yeah,
not a genius. Don't
no,
tell anyone. But,
I don't know. You have your moments.
thank you. I mean, I don't think I'm stupid, but, I'm
Yeah,
not a science person, right?
yeah, yeah,
I don't think I'm the smartest guy in the room
yeah,
often, So you talk to people who are smarter than you and know more about things than you do, and you better understand the world. And some of it's for my enjoyment, and a lot of it is because I want others to better understand things as
yeah,
well, and
yeah.
to be brave and to, ask questions and seek truth and speak the truth. And I mean, that's my big fear is always people's unwillingness to speak the truth. This is how we've gotten in so much trouble and how we'll continue to get in trouble in the future is if people are too scared to speak the truth in the face of authoritarians.
Hmm.
That they can't, that people haven't been able to see the danger in encroaching authoritarianism. That, people believed, and a lot of people still do believe in Canada, for example, that all the COVID
People believe in
measures,
Canada still.
I know. People
Sorry, guys.
like I mean, people in Canada still, a lot of people in Canada really do still live in their algorithmic bubble
Yeah.
and trust the government and think that the COVID measures were necessary and important and saved lives, and that things like, actual treatments for COVID that actually would have helped people, that those, they don't know, or they still think it's a conspiracy theory that those things were actively suppressed so that they could push this vaccine on people.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and are afraid to, I have a friend of mine told me that Hamas were the good guys and that, they were the best thing for Palestinians. I was like, they're jihadis. I was like, they're terrorists.
That's a whole
They
other.
are,
Yeah.
this is like but the people,
Yeah.
there's still a lot of people out there like that. And I want people to start questioning what they're reading in their social media feeds, right? That so
Yeah.
much of this is
Yeah.
still about what they're seeing on Instagram and Facebook and
Yeah.
TikTok.
Yeah.
Um,
Have you
so
ever
that's
seen?
always going to be an issue. Free speech is always, free speech is my main thing now, right?
Yeah.
Advocating
Yeah.
free speech. That's a big thing, and that's always going to be a big thing. We can see how easily that can disappear. It could, if the Democrats had won, I do think we would have lost free speech.
I'm much more relieved than anything else that Trump has won due to the alternative to Trump. But I don't think and I'm still hopeful that that alternative might be put out the pasture, though I think it'll just morph into something else. There's an interesting argument that's not against free speech, but for the downstream effects of censorship is that it causes the best ideas or the best thinkers rather, to morph their language and to try really hard to, one, avoid the censors and still be able to tell the truth. And without that kind of selection pressure on thought, it kind of dwindles in a way. I don't know. I just feel without an enemy, what is the purpose of politics? And then without politics, what is the purpose of life? I guess, what is the purpose of a YouTube channel without politics? I'll have to go into board gaming or like crafting pots or something like that. Have you ever seen Mad Men?
I feel like if I weren't doing what I was doing, I would probably just start like a dog rescue
Yeah,
service or
I
something
could
like
see that.
that. Do you
Yeah,
know what I
yeah,
mean? I
yeah.
would just
Like a
start
Zsa Zsa
really
Gabor kind of
collecting
like dog things. Yeah, yeah. No, yeah, for
Or,
sure. I mean, it gives me.
there's all sorts of other things. Like I was trying to do like a Ricea brand here for so long, and I just haven't quite been able to get my head around the like
What is this?
finances of it.
Is this like a
Ricea? It's
sake of
Mexican
some sort?
moonshine.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so
It's
it is
our
a sake.
state moonshine. It's like an agave
Okay.
uh
Yeah.
spirit, I suppose, but
Yeah.
it's specific to our region of Nayarit. And I love it, obviously.
Our
Like I love it
region. You're
more
really
than
identifying as Mexican more and more, aren't you?
I'm a residente now.
Oh, wait, that's a thing?
Yeah, I'm a resident, so I don't have to leave. Like before I was on visas and you when you fly in, you automatically now, not always, but now you automatically get a 6 month visa. So you just have to leave and come back and your visa renews. It's not hard. And I was leaving all the time, for work and various things, I fly to San Francisco, come back, my visa's renewed. So it
Yeah.
really never
Yeah.
became an issue, but it could become an issue where I don't want to leave or I can't leave, depending on how the world goes. That's always a genuine fear that I have. And so I've
Yeah.
finally done my process of getting my residency. So I don't have to leave for
So
4 years
you feel
and then I can,
bonded to it, or at least you're on paper bonded to this land.
well, I want to, yeah, I love Mexico. Like I want to stay here. I do. I mean, if I had my ideal life and I was wealthier, I would do part-time, like I would spend the summers here are rough, like rough. Like
Yeah.
the storm season is hard because your power, like, my power goes
Oh,
out. It's
yeah.
very, very hot. Like going to the gym is like being in a sauna. Like it's rough. So if I had my ideal life, I would probably spend most of the year here and then maybe have like a house in Texas or something like that and go back and forth. I like Texas a lot. I would be happy to spend more time in America, but I don't want to live there permanently. I don't want to live in a city again. I like my little community here. I like the
Hmm.
weirdness of everything and yeah, so
Hmm.
that's the yeah. So I have 4 years and then after that I can apply for my permanent. But yeah, there's
It
other
hasn't been
things that I
4 years,
want to
has it?
do. I'll never, no, I just
Has it been
got
4
it.
years?
Oh,
Okay.
for me,
Yeah.
I've been here actually almost 4 years. It'll be 4 years in
Wow.
January. I know.
Wow.
I can't believe it either.
That's a
Yeah, I
long
got
time.
here in January 2021.
It's almost as long as your longest boyfriend.
Longer.
Wow. There we go.
My greatest commitment.
Oh, wow.
Um,
Hmm.
but yeah, it was, I mean, I would never not be a writer. Like writing is my whole thought process.
Yeah.
You know, this
Yeah.
is how I sort through everything. So, and I like, and I do write about, you know, I write about relationships and of course I write about politics and culture and friendship and music
Yeah.
or, you know, there's all, I'm never not going to be a writer. That's, I don't, I feel like I couldn't function without that.
Hmm.
That's my main thing. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm gonna keep doing this for as long as I can, and as long
Yeah,
as
I'm gonna
I,
keep doing it. I'm keep doing
yeah,
it. There's this. Did you ever see Mad Men? I've
yeah.
watched it like about 10 times now. I'm going through it.
Oh, really? I should watch
Yeah.
again. I watched the whole thing through, albeit
Okay.
only once, and I did
Yeah.
quite like it. So I don't know. I
I'm
probably don't remember it as well as you do,
No,
though.
no. There's this one scene. It's in the last season or last half of the last season, and the main character Don Draper is tasked to write some sort of where this company is going, like what is the future, and he keeps on like enlisting people to figure out like the why are they doing what they're doing, and he keeps on shitting all over everybody because nothing's ever good enough, like he wants to want something again, and he's just his whole plot arc is just like he's just constantly like fulfilled by wanting but not by having. Like that's just basically the encapsulation of what he is, and at a certain point in the cycle of being a creative, and by creative I mean what you do, like you're creative, you're generating content. I'm trying to like say it's not just a romantic thing, it's just what we do. There's a process in that cycle where you want to want something, like I want to want something again, because like part of that which fuels the best of what we do is the glimmer, is that newness, is that discovery. It's like that curiosity. It's like, well, what is this new thing? So I feel like I'm kind of like I'm looking for answers to that from you, because I'm seeking that myself. Like what is it? What is the next thing? Where are we now? Trump won. Okay, so what now? We're just gonna bitch about like Matt Gaetz or whatever, like, and like what? Who cares now? Like we don't have to worry about that. But what do I have to worry about now?
Well, I think World War III, I guess, right?
Is
I
is that
mean,
what they're trying to do?
I hope not. But I mean, I think, yeah, I mean, if say we've won the trans wars, it's all over. The
Yeah.
Republicans are in power, that's done. Canada will be next, I think, I hope, because I think Pierre Poilievre and the Conservatives are going to win the next
Mm.
election in
I
Canada.
would really like to annex Canada. That would be cool.
Like, what, how?
We
What would
we
that?
just march in there,
Uh-huh.
take over the centers of government, and just like kind of rope off Vancouver and
Yeah.
and heavily oppress Toronto until they get their shit together, and just take
Yeah.
it over, get the
Yeah,
resources, and
I
liberate the
would
people from its
fully
government.
support that because Canada is such a beautiful
Yeah,
land full of horrible
resources.
people and idea. Yeah, lots of good resources. But
Yeah,
I mean, I just like BC is so beautiful, but
yeah,
I go
it
there
is.
and I'm just miserable because these people are
Mm,
so uptight and boring and have no real understanding of what's going on in the world around them, but think they do. And like think that they're better than and know better than
mm.
everybody else, but don't know shit. Like
Yeah,
there's no excitement, there's no action, there's no joy.
zest.
everything is so controlled, and people are so used to everything being controlled that they want that control. They want the safety and the comfort and their little routine and their little lives more than anything else. And it's made them really dull and uptight and I think kind of not happy. And yeah, I'm not sure if they
Mm.
realize that. But, people ask me all the time, like, oh, maybe I should move to Mexico. How do I move to Mexico? And I'm like, well, first of all, you should visit. Like, it's not anything like where you're from, and it's not an easy life. Nothing is easy here, and it's not a vacation. We're not living in a resort.
Mm-hmm.
We're
Mm-hmm.
living in a place where everything is more chaotic and there's less infrastructure and things are harder to access and things don't work all the time and so
Mm-hmm.
on and so
Cameras are
forth.
fuzzy.
Yeah, the cameras are fuzzy. Yeah, the internet is not great
Your
often.
brow is sweaty.
You're sweating all the time. But I think yeah, people and their things, it's just
Mm.
you know, okay, you got a condo. Like, okay, this is why, I understand why people want to own a house, and that's fair enough. But it's not like, okay, you own a house and that's done, and now you've done it and that's it. Well, you go
Mm.
into property, you win, that you had success. Like, this isn't gonna guarantee you any kind of happiness in life.
Yeah.
But anyway, blah, 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 blah. I
Yeah.
support your idea. I mean, they really need things to be shaken up and they need to stop being so terrified of one another and
They would be so
terrified of
easy
free
to control.
speech and yeah.
Like they wouldn't even put up much of a resistance.
No, what would they do?
They wouldn't do anything.
I mean, the hunters, like the people who have guns would be on
They're
board.
on
They'd
our
be
side.
like, fuck yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
All the convoy people would be like, great, let's do this. And all the useless, like laptop class people would be like, ah! And just
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
okay, I'll
running
just
the
stay in my
experiment,
condo.
maybe Russia will fund some sort of resistance, but I don't see Russia even caring about Canada.
No, probably not.
Yeah.
But,
No.
yeah, I mean, I guess they have lots of resources in Russia, I think.
Yeah. No. Well,
Yeah.
yeah, Canada deserves to be liberated. We'll maid all of your inept, corrupt leadership.
Yeah.
And then we'll elect Meghan Murphy as the Chancellor Vice Regent of the
As
Western
long
Command.
as I can do my job part-time from Mexico, that's fine.
Meghan Murphy, where can people find your work and what are they going to find when they get to there?
Find me on Substack. Please subscribe. Paid subscribers sustain my work and my ability to produce independent writing and podcasting without having to rely on Russia or the
Or
Daily
Teal.
Wire or
Yeah.
Peter Thiel. Yeah,
Yeah.
I really haven't sold out at all. But in order to continue to not be able to
In order not to sell out, I need to sell myself
I need
to you.
to pay $6 a month on my Substack. And for that low, low price, you get early access to all of my podcasts and interviews, full access to all of my writing. Most of my writing is behind a paywall, though not all of it, because I, need to make a living somehow. You can also participate in the comment section. You can tell me why you think I'm wrong.
Yeah, you love that.
Maybe I'll learn something. Maybe you'll learn something.
Mm.
And yeah, so that's at meganmurphy.ca, or you can just search Meghan Murphy on Substack. You can find me on X, which is my favorite social media platform. I kind of hate every single other social media platform, to be honest. So
They're pretty bad.
I use X a lot. I only use the other ones out of necessity, and they don't really do anything for me, so I don't even know what that means. But
Yeah.
that's Meghan E. Murphy, and you can find my podcast, The Same Drugs, on Spotify, and following me there also helps support my podcast a lot. So,
So what?
and you can join
what?
Team TERF
Oh.
if you go to meganmurphy.ca and click
Actually,
the
I like
shop
those mugs.
tab.
Those are I got to get some metal mugs.
I use it all the time. I love
Metal
this
mugs
little
are
mug.
good.
I
like
have
that. That's
t-shirts
really good.
with this on it too. Yeah.
That's a good one. That's a good one. What is your favorite rep right now? Since you brought up the gym earlier, what are you working on? What part of your body is getting the most wear, tear, and boost?
I've been trying to do the boxing classes
Yeah.
more at my gym. So that's sort of what I've been trying to focus on improving. I did a lot of weight training for the past 3 years, and I started to feel like I was getting too big. Not like I was getting too jacked because I don't work out enough to get that jacked, but I was like,
Yeah.
my legs, I had like athletic looking legs
You're
before they just weren't
doom.
athletic. So now that
Yeah.
they actually are muscly, I'm like, ugh, my legs are getting too big. I need to stop. I think I felt like I was doing too much weight training and not enough other stuff and cardio stuff. So I've been trying to do the boxing stuff more. And the boxing classes are fun. Like it's like social. You meet new people because you're at the gym. That you're not just meeting like, bar people or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's what I've been trying to do, and that's been good. I feel that I've been improving a bit,
Hmm.
slowly but surely.
Any craft otherwise, or other than
Um,
drinking and trying to sell guava nectar
I
of some sort?
no, I mean my craft is really just like I'm just always trying to read more. I'm
Mm.
trying to read
Hmm.
paper. It's always my goal you know, New Year's, my goal is always to read more books, to try to leave the computer, leave the
Yeah.
phone and read
Yeah.
paper books. I think
Yeah.
that's really good for our
Yeah.
brains and
Best
bodies.
one
I've
you've
been
read recently?
oh gosh, the best one? I mean, I don't read fictions. I just have to warn you that everything I read is
Oh, that's fine.
nonfiction. So I
Yeah, that's
really
fine.
enjoyed Batya Engard Sargon's book. I really enjoyed both. Her first book was great too, Bad Media, and her second book,
Bad media.
Second Class, was really good. Right
Second class.
now I'm reading RFK Jr.'s book about Anthony Fauci, and that has
Ooh,
a lot of good information. It's so big. Like
really?
the pages are just like packed with little tiny text, and there's so
Yikes.
many pages. But I mean, it's very interesting. It just reading about this is what I mentioned earlier about ivermectin and hydrochloroquine being
Yeah.
suppressed as actually really good and really effective ways to treat COVID, and
Hmm.
it's just so sick. It's so disgusting what they did, also that they could force these vaccines on people that
Yeah.
didn't work. So many people died unnecessarily, so everyone suffered unnecessarily, obviously, through these lockdowns and
I I
everything.
wonder if there'll ever be payback for that.
Oh Lord, I don't have a lot of faith in that, to be honest, but
Yeah, yeah.
I would be great, but I'm not gonna hold my breath.
The
I feel
best I
like
could
people
hope
just
for is that
like
people
to,
don't fall for that amount of massive psyop
yeah,
in the future.
I really hope so. I
Without
know a lot
without
of
calling
people
out
have
any
woken
one
up, but
thing, but yeah.
yeah, yeah. I'm really enjoying the destruction of celebrity culture and the mainstream media and how people are just kind of, I think people are like done. We're like, we don't care what you think, Beyonce. You were at Diddy's parties, and like
Yeah.
the celebrities still think that people care that J-Lo endorsed Kamala Harris and nobody cares, and they're like, nah, J-Lo, you suck. Like, I'm really loving that, and I'm loving that the mainstream, there's no trust in the mainstream media. I'm loving that independent media and independent journalism is coming up, and that Joe Rogan is like the most powerful media outlet in the
Yeah.
country. Like,
Isn't that crazy?
yeah, it's so crazy. I
That
could have
crazy.
imagined. So
And here
anyway,
we are paddling
yeah,
peddling our little podcasts up the stream.
thanks for having me back on. It was good to
Thank you,
touch base
Megan.
again. I should
Yeah,
have you
thank you
back
very much.
on sometime
Yeah,
soon too to check
anytime.
in,
Yeah,
actually.
we'll wrap. We'll have some
Yeah,
jokes and
let's do
stuff,
that.
but thanks a lot for your evening. I'll link to
Okay.
your work down below, and you
Thank
have a good
you.
night.
You too. Thanks. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.